Welcome to Architrave Gaming. I'm the Archmaster Matthias. This is a channel about helping you make your D&D worlds way better by using actual fantastic ideas that make your world fantastic and not just boring bog standard fantasy, Europe, Forgotten Realms, right? Actually interesting stuff. I'm also writing my own game system, which is 5e but fixed, overhauling essentially everything, but you still have your D20 and your 6 attributes and your modifiers. It's still, the gameplay is still very similar, but all the options are changed. I'm Patreon, link in the description if you want to help me actually make my world and my game system a reality. If you're tired of boring 5e gameplay and boring Forgotten Realms world, or you want to spice up your own world. And I'm also actively looking for team members to help me develop both the world and the game if you're interested. All right, so this video is about a few random ideas, snippets, just what is it? Sneak peek into the fantastic craziness of my world, and these are also ideas that you can go ahead and take and plant in your own if you like. All right, so this has to do with narrative magic or association magic, which I talked about in a previous video, one of the earlier ones. Players knowing they're in Kingsland. So the idea that the idea is essentially kings are one of many people that have authority, right? This has the narrative or authority magic, right? So the whole world, you could say, it exists through the collective narrative of people, right? So everyone, what people say, what they continually speak, makes reality the way it is, right? This is, yeah. So everyone has a bit of authority, right? Their own word, they all have their own little vote, right? But there are certain people who, one way or another, gained extra authority in their words, right? Their narrative overrides others. Their narrative is more powerful, right? And it can have the power of 10 men or 100 men or 1,000 men or 100,000 men, right? Those are like, princes, kings, emperors, right? How many you rule over, right? So the idea that a king who has his authority, his own narrative, right? He can declare laws like everyone in my lands gets extra healing when they rest. Of course, in 5e, you get full health when you rest, which is just silly. But he can say everyone gets double healing. He's a good, benevolent king. Or he can say no one is allowed to steal in my land. If they do, their hair will turn green as a sign that they stole, right? Or he can say, whatever, right? No orcs are allowed in my lands. If they walk on my lands, the soles of their feet will burn. Something, right? And so you can have all sorts of effects based on whatever king or count or Dutch, duke, whoever. You can have all these different authority figures who all have their own narratives, and they can even overlap in the same areas. But the idea that players can go, they can be approaching a settlement and enter that domain of the king. They enter Kingsland. And they know it. They're like, oh wait, hold on. We've just entered a zone. There's a new law of the universe right now in this area that a king or a priest or whoever has spoken, right? It can be that, anyone who is fighting bandits gets extra strength, right? And so in game that's translated, everyone gets +5 to their damage. Or all their weapons are considered magical or something, right? You can never die to a bandit. You only ever go unconscious and stabilize automatically if a bandit hurts you, right? It can be any number of things, but the idea that the authority of a person in a place affects the area around it, that's really cool, and it ties into the whole narrative magic thing. But also just moving on to the whole, moving on with the narrative magic thing. It's not just that people said they spoke some narrative. Oh yes, we're on Earth and we have 4 seasons and there's a forest over there. It's not that they just said that once and it happened. It's that they have to continually say it again and again, because someone else might go in and speak an opposite narrative, or maybe the world is just kind of decomposing and people have to keep on life support by continually speaking it. So every morning you have to wake up and be like, this is my house, I live here. If you don't, then you may just be displaced or come home and find that your house has fallen apart in some place. Like there's it's starting to crumble because you forgot to say that my house exists, right? And so it just stopped existing, or it started to crumble, right? There can be an enemy nation that's like, that land over the sea belongs to us, or that land over the sea will be attacked by dragons, or that land over the sea, is our enemy, right? And it makes it so. It imbues people's minds like, oh, I don't like those people over the sea, right? Because they said that they are our enemy. So those people now consider them your enemy, right? And so like everyone's narrative has to be guided and controlled, right? So that the king gives out decrees, and of course his voice matters a lot. He can be like, we are at peace, but he's also telling all the people, continue this narrative. And the priest tells them, here's the narrative to say about, salvation and life and fiends. Like, here's the thing to, protect yourself from fiendish invasion and possession and influence and whatnot. And just the idea of narrative magic, everyone's narrative being important and some people's narrative being more important, and there being a power source behind it, like you swearing an oath to the king. That's what gives him his extra authority, right? It's the emotions that a bard, drums up in the people who listen to him playing. It's that emotion that powers his ability, right? For the priest, it's his own vows of chastity and poverty and pacifism, right? Stuff like that. You can do some really interesting things with this narrative authority magic in the world, especially when it's just like naturally occurring. It's like you can really cool stuff. All right, here's another idea. Powerful creature's death, stopping the elements. So if you kill a powerful creature, an element or some kind of elemental function, like the weather or seasons or something, stops temporarily or permanently. So instead of just killing the dragon and the dragon dies and then you take the scales and take his gold, like what if the dragon actually sustained the seasons or summer? If it's a red dragon, fiery dragon, he sustains summer. So now he died. In the spring, you get to summer, and there's no summer. The it's not hot. The plants don't grow as much. The whole life and vitality and whatnot of summer just doesn't hit. It's still spring, and so plants grow up green shoots, but they don't mature. The heat, the sun isn't there to actually make them get ripe, and then you get to autumn and everything just rots. It's like great, it's like you can do so many cool things if you kill the giant or kill the king. Like what if you kill the king and then the crops wither, or it becomes winter instantly, right? You can do so many things where you kill a powerful creature and it has these ripple effects with the seasons, the weather, the world itself. It makes consequences to actions, and this isn't a gotcha thing for the players. Like, oh, by the way, now the summer didn't happen, right? Like if you want to and that works for your group, go ahead. But it's more the idea that you can give them interesting choices to make. So many good ideas are just about giving the players interesting choices to make. Where it's not, oh, there's a dragon to kill, I guess we should go kill him. You tell them actually the dragon sustains summer, but he's burning down all the crops. The king wants him dead. The king is trying to ally with this giant. The giant sustains, we'll say, the dungeons, right? So if the giant dies, all the dungeon entrances collapse. The dragon doesn't like the giant, right? You can set up this triangle of power. You can set up all these things and ask the players, hey, what do you value? Who do you want to side with? What's your thing, right? That's interesting. That's fantastical, right? You don't have interesting opportunities like that when you just say, yeah, the world is just mundane and it just sits there and it's just normal like the real world. It's like, no, you got to connect stuff and make it interesting. All right, last one. Purple worms burrowing to make caverns. This is simple. You just have a big old worm. It doesn't have to be the D&D copyrighted purple worm. It can just be like any sort of big burrowing worm. It can be a dragon. It can be anything, but like a big burrowing worm creature. Just burrowing through the ground. Like the surf, not just underground and staying underground, but like up in the surface, down again, up and down again, all over the place. And so after 1,000 years or 500, however long, either it's the same worm or it's descendants or something. But you have all these pits and holes in the ground, in the mountains, and in the ocean, and on the beach. And so the water of the ocean is just spilling in. That there's it went up and destroyed the palace one day, 500 years ago, and they built a new palace around it, or a new palace over there. Like you can have all these giant holes in the ground. Maybe they built over them or tried to fill them in, which would be a monumental task. Maybe they started building a dungeon or building the city down there, and people build these cities in the little at least a few hundred feet down on these holes, because it's known that a purple worm never burrows in the same hole again. So if you build on the places where it went, then you're certain not to be attacked again. But just all sorts of cool stuff you can have with big purple worm just burrowing everywhere. Anyway, please like and subscribe. Feed the algorithm. That's the end of the video. If you want to join my team, comment, and if you want to give me money, I only have an option for $5 a month. Please, Patreon in the description if you want to help me actually quit my job and do this full time and make super cool stuff. Again, I have my own game, 5e but fixed, and I have my own world, which is super crazy and super amazing. You can keep tuning in and get tiny ideas and put in your world, or you can give me money or just wait around until I actually make multiple setting books and like, hey, here's this part of my world. Here are all these cool ideas I'm talking about. I actually thought them out and thought, okay, well, how would this idea affect trade and commerce and war and the giants and the dragons and like blah, 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 blah. Thinking about how everything affects everything else and building this fully integrated world. And that's like my big goal with my setting, have everything super fleshed out and whatnot, and then maybe eventually make video games and movies and all that. But for now, for the next several years, it's just tabletop stuff. Anyway, my game is super cool, and my world is super cool, and join my team or pay me money. Like and subscribe to the algorithm. Thanks for watching, and God bless.